Hello, Cherries, and welcome to Live Cherry Sunday Special Tuesday, episode 226. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use your ear to figure out progressions that use chord inversions. Now, this is going to be really cool. Let me say hello to one of my friends here in the chat real quick. Hello, Busch Gardens fan. All right, love it out there in Busch Gardens at the Stanleyville Theater. Played there many times, and I love it. So this is going to be really cool. This is kind of like a follow-up to another video that I made on figuring out chord progressions by ear. But this time we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to figure out chord progressions that use chord inversions. And we'll get into what inversions are, but they're basically just chords in different order. The notes are in different order. Like the third and the fifth, the root won't be on the bottom. The bottom of the note would be like a third or a fifth. It could be anything, it could be a seventh, but generally, keeping it simple, in a triad form, either the third would be on the bottom, instead of the root, third, fifth, that makes up a normal triad. You could make it a third, fifth roots, like that. You could really just mix up the notes. So it may be a little bit trickier to pick out, but once you understand it, you could do this the same exact way that we've done it before, figuring out chord progressions. So I have a couple of chord progressions here, and let's give it a shot here. Let's try this first one. It goes like this. Let's have a listen. Put your thinking caps on, open up your ears. Here it goes. Let me know if you could hear this too. What we're going to do is we're going to start on the low E string here. We're just going to work our way up till we find the notes that we hear. Let's check it out. I'm going to sing it first. Let's see what we got here. So the first note's an E, open E. So the second note sounded like, could be the C up here. So you get the E, C, F. Sound like a B right there. So the E, C, F, B. Okay. So we figured out that the lowest notes that I hear here is an E to an F. I'm doing all this on the E string here too, as well, the low E string. And then we had a it was a what was this? An E to an F. No, it's an E to a C to an F to a B. So those four notes, you know, they're all natural notes, so we know that they're in the key of C. But if it was in an E minor to a C to an F to a B, no, that's not what it sounds like. Let's play those chords over this progression, see what it sounds like. E minor, C, F, B, E minor, to C, F, B. Doesn't sound right there. So those aren't really going to be the, when you hear those root notes, they're not going to be the chords of the song. So they're going to be chord tones of it. So I'm getting, you know, I'm feeling that the progression's in C right here because all these notes are natural, no sharps, no flats right here. And so I think that these are going to be chord tones of another progression here. And I would think that it's going to be like this. Check this out. So it'll be like this. So it doesn't feel like it's a C right there? it really feels like it's you could sing this note through the whole progression. So these are, check this out. Here's what we got here. We have a C chord with a low E underneath it. So that's the third on the bottom. Then the second note was a C, but over an A chord. Then the third note was an F, so it's an F over a D minor chord. Then the fourth note was the B over a G chord. So if I played a C, A minor, D, G over this, see what it sounds like. That's right. C, A minor, D minor, G. But it sounds a lot more interesting, doesn't it, having those chord tones on the bottom right here. So if you're enjoying this video so far, hit that like button, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. I go live every Sunday, except when I can't. I go live on Monday, and when I can't go on Monday, I go on Tuesday. If I can't on Tuesday, I go on Wednesday. So the chord progression, it's a C. It's a 1-6-2-5 progression. We have C, A minor, D minor, to G. C. But instead of playing the C like this, what we're doing is we're playing the C. We're playing an inversion of the C, where we're playing the low E first. Droning the low E, which is the third. You can hit the C right here. I mean the E note here. Open E, string like that. And you could hit the low E in the bottom. So the chord would sound like this. The next chord is an A minor, but we have a C. We're playing the third, which is a C note. We'll play that on the bottom while playing still the rest of the A chord. You can even call this a C6 chord. But it's an A minor with the C on the bottom, a D minor, but with a third on the bottom there as well, playing this F note right here. The bottom, and the rest of that D minor is on top with that F on the bottom. Or that right there, you can hit that with your thumb right there if you want to. It's hard to get that thumb over there. And then the B over the G minor chord right here like this. So instead of playing the C to an A minor, to a D minor, to a G, play it C like this way. With inversions. Pretty cool. So any questions about this stuff, let me know right now, or let me know in the comment section later on when you're watching this. And I do have a question for you really early on, which you could answer for me. You know, I want to figure out in what way do you figure out chords, you know, progressions that have inversions, you know, because it might be tricky to figure out. You know, when you hear a chord progression that's like this, you know, it's like you're hearing the you know, what I hear is it's just the lowest note. So if I went to the low E, I know it's not an E minor. It's not an F. Although that, you know, an E chord does kind of sound good over that first chord. Because it is kind of like a harmony chord over the C. So over this first chord, that would be a B right there too, that last note. So I wouldn't want to play an E. Doesn't sound, the progression doesn't sound like this. E minor, C, F, and then B. It's not a B minor. It would be like a B minor 7 flat 5. It was all in the key of C. So it would sound like this. E, E minor, C, F, B minor 7 flat 5. So here we go, try it one more time. So E minor, C, F, B minor 7 flat 5. Let's see how that sounds over this progression. Not really good. Let's see. Yeah, so we know those are just chord tones of the chords, where it's going to be an E. So that sounds more like it right there. Third, I just played the root notes. So hopefully you're getting that. Hopefully you're understanding some of that. Hit that like button if you do. Subscribe to the channel. So what I'm doing is I'm listening to this. I'm just using the low E string to kind of find the notes that I'm playing here, just going up chromatically. Like on this first note, just in low. You can even stop it if you want and just hear it in your head. That's C note right there. So you know it's a low E to a C. So you have a... And what's the next note? just go up again. An F, or play it down here. And then the fourth note would be so E, C, F, so those four notes, low E, C, but as we discussed earlier, those are just going to be four notes in the key of C, because they're all natural, no sharps, no flats, right there, number one. But the progression doesn't sound like it's hitting an E minor to a C, to an F, to a B. Sounds more like a C to an A minor, to a D minor, to a G. But with inversions right there. All right. So, having a good time here today. Hit that like button if you do. Any questions about any of this stuff, please let me know. And we have another progression here we'll figure out. And using the E string. It's how we want to do it, you know. So, you know, we could also get into the analytics of it, of, you know, figuring out how, you know, the analysis, actually, not analytics, but the analysis, chord analysis. You know, when you have a C chord, then you have the 7 diatonic chords of a key would be C, the major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And each note has a chord, C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B minor 7, or B diminished. Back to the C again. So you have C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, and C again. So we take that progression, and we know that it's a 1 chord to a 6 chord, because the A minor is 6 notes above the C. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is A minor. Then D is the 2, because it's the 2nd degree of the major scale, 2. And then 5, which is the G, the 5th note of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is G, G. Right there, so you have the 1, 6, 2, 5. We're playing different inversions. We're playing a first inversion over this C chord. First inversion, because we call it a first inversion because it's the starting on the 3rd, basically what it is. The 3rd is on the bottom now. Then you have the 3rd, then you have the root, the 3rd again. After it doesn't really matter the order after from the bottom up, because, you know, it's really called the first inversion because you're starting on the 3rd right there, regardless of what really proceeds after that. So you have the 3rd on the bottom, then you have the root, there's another 3rd, then you have the 5th right there, open G, here's your C again, and there's your 3rd again. So it's a first inversion C chord. Then when you go to the A, it's a first inversion A minor chord, because you have the A minor, and you have the C, which is the 3rd of A minor. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3 of A minor. So you have that A minor chord shape right here. Then you have the 3rd above. So that's an A minor first inversion. Now then on the D chord, same thing. You have the first inversion D. You have a D, E, F, Going up the major scale, C major scale, D, E, F, I'm playing a D minor chord with an F on the bottom. That's another one, D minor first inversion, and then the G first inversion, because I'm starting on the third. G, A, B, 1, 2, 3 of G, 1, 2, 3. So now the chords sound like this. So none of them sound like the root, which would be like this. You have this. And they sound good together. Like here's the inversions. Hear the difference? I'm playing the roots. Root. 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 The root. Root. Depends on what note you're emphasizing there. A lot of people really don't really even believe in inversions too much, but they don't care, and they're not so important. But they do color up things, and they do make a big difference in songs. You know, there's a part of Dancing Queen, which is really cool, where it's like it goes from in the verse, just goes from an A inversion here to a D, and then it goes. It's like it really sets it up, and all that is an A to a D, but with the D on the bottom, with the A note on the bottom of a D chord. So if that's a D, it's hitting. So it's a second inversion because the fifth is on the bottom of that D, and then when it does this, all that is an E chord, a D chord to an A chord, E, T, E. E. But it sounds better to do this because it sets up more. It's more of a movement. You have that's what inversions do. They give you like a little bit more of a movement in the chord progression. Instead of just going E, D, A. You're going E, D, A to the E. That's a pretty good example of why inversions are cool like that, which I think they're cool. So, what are you drinking out there? I got my coffee. Loving some coffee here, and I make it myself. It's Italian espresso beans. I grind them up. I boil the water, and I pour it over the grinds. It's genius move, but you can make really good coffee that way. All right, let's check out this other progression here. Let's figure this one out. All right, check this out. First of all, first thing I always like to do is I like to think of, try to hear it in my head. Red Skullman. Jerry. Sri Lanka. Oh my God. Sri Lanka. I hear that's a resort vacation spot. Sri Lanka, right? My ex-girlfriend used to vacation there. Maybe not that many exes ago. But cool. Enjoy. Thank you. Very cool. So I'm hearing a boom, 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 boom. Right? Are you hearing that too? Boom. Boom, boom, boom. So what's that first note? Boom, boom. We can even stop. Boom. F sharp right there. Boom. F sharp. E. Pretty easy one. F sharp. F sharp, G sharp, E. So if it's an F sharp, not an F sharp minor, F, G sharp minor, E, A. Doesn't sound right. E minor? What the heck? F sharp minor? No. So, I'm starting to just feel what it is naturally. That's what it sounds like to me. So you really want to internalize what you're really hearing and what you're feeling here in this progression. I'm hearing it in A. It's resolving to an A chord. So it feels like it's an A. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, well, what chords are in A? And it goes back into analyzing chords. Not the analytics, of course, but analyzing chords. I know it's an A, so I know the chords that I have in A already. So if I played the A major scale, A, B, C sharp, D, E, or you don't even have to name them. You don't even have to know the names, really. Or A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 again. Now it's important to know the names of the notes, but more importantly, the sound. You know the major scale. I'm gonna guess 3 guesses in just 1 second. It looks like the writing is I don't know. It's Middle Eastern somewhere. I'm not quite sure. You let me know. That's 1 guess. Hebrew or not sure. That's 2. I do have 1 more shot, but I don't know if it's going to be any better than what I guessed already. And so yeah, that's a really good. Yeah, bring up some good points here. Any questions? Because it's really important. Because here's a good one right here from Reeds Skolman. I studied your ear chord progression lesson. Now I can find simple chords. Okay, well that's cool. This is probably the next level up, hearing simple chords, but hearing the simple chords but with inversions on them. Because I know that it's an A right here. I know the chords that are in it, and I know that could be this, when I hit this F sharp is the first note, this F sharp minor, then it goes to a G, but there's no G sharp minor in that in A. It would be a diminished chord, so it would be more like this, and then it went to an A, but there was an E on the bottom of the A. E on the bottom. Fire truck going by, or an ambulance? Well, I am in Brooklyn, by the way, and I did guess where you from. It's Middle Eastern or Hebrew, right there. So guess where I'm from here? Brooklyn, New York. Why do you know? How do we know that? Because there's an ambulance or a fire truck driving by. You know, I could throw a stick out the window, and chances are it's going to land on a fire engine or a police car. What is your guitar, Mexican or USA? This is a USA model, 2013 Strat. Her name is Candy. Thank you very much. It's a USA version. Not that they make a total big difference, Mexican, USA. You know, it's really, to me, it's the resale value of it, you know. Because you could have Mexican guitars play great, too. It's all up to the person, to be honest with you. Maybe it's built a little bit better here in the United States, but you could always tweak them and make them better yourself. So the Mexican guitars are, depends on who's setting them up, who's putting it together. But the resale value for me is like when you buy American guitars, it's just fact that you don't really lose value. For the most part, the guitars will only go up in value. Kind of like these right here as well. You know. So, all right. So we left off over here. Very important part of it. In its progression, we hear that it's a F. But what I'm hearing is I'm hearing this A chord, and then it's like I'm hearing a B. We know it's an A. So it's really, we got a progression here. That's a 2 chord. So I'm hearing the B minor there, an E, and an A. So regardless of the root notes that you're hearing, it's a B and an E to an A. But I'm hitting inversions of it. So here's the B with the F sharp on the bottom, E with a G sharp on top, an A with an E on the bottom. So if I play just a straight B minor to an E to an A, B minor, E, A, B minor, E, A, B minor, E, A. So, pretty cool. So you have a B minor, E, and A. A little bit flat right there, right? There you go. So, but what we're doing is we got the B minor, E major, to an A. But the way you're hearing it right now is you have this F sharp on the bottom, G on the bottom of the E chord, and E on the bottom of the A chord. So you have the B minor with an F sharp. So that's a second inversion minor chord right there. You have a B minor, you have the 5th on the bottom. So if you go up the A major scale starting on B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is an F sharp. I'll show you here on this camera right here so you can see it a little bit better. If you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to an F sharp, same thing with this lower octave, you have the F sharp below the B minor chord. So it sounds like this. It's B minor, but I'm starting on the low note. Gives it a little fullness, right? So you have the 5th on the bottom. So that's a B minor chord, second inversion. The second chord was an E chord. Play it like that. I can play it like this. A lot of people play it like that, and they'll play this pinky to get that third. So what that is, it's the 3rd on the bottom of the E chord. Here's an E. It's kind of in the D chord position, but the cage system. Like it's like this. If you played a D chord and played your thumb over there, like a lot of people do, it's a D chord. But move it up to here. That's what it is. It's the 3rd on the bottom. Play it like that as well. So that's an E chord with the 3rd on the bottom. E, 2, 3. So even though we're in a key of A and A is the 1, you can get into starting on 1 on every chord, which is how those chords are built anyway. So really E, excuse me, even though it's the 5 chord of A, it's the 1 within itself. So you can count 1, 2, 3 going up the A major scale. Not up the E major scale, but up the A major scale. A major scale. Or however you want to play it, wherever. But going up the E, That's a third. 1, 2, 3, playing an E chord. So that's a third on the bottom of that. And then when you go to the A chord, I'm doing the same thing, second inversion, because I'm playing the E on the bottom of an A chord. So here's an A chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The E is the fifth of A, but I'm playing on the lower E. You know, low, right there. And then I play the regular A chord. So now it sounds like this. There's B minor, second inversion, E, first inversion, A, first, second inversion, A, B minor, second inversion, E, first inversion, A, second inversion, A, B minor, second inversion. Trying to do this talk and play at the same time, it's hard. B minor, second inversion, E, first inversion, A, second inversion, A, root inversion. All right, so really, really, really cool. If you're enjoying this, hit that like button. Any questions, let me know. Red Skullman. And thanks for hanging out with me a little bit here on a Tuesday. Usually it's a Sunday, but I was on tour for a couple of days. I went to the left coast. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, but I went out to, where was it? Flew to Seattle. I'm happy that it was at least straight shot, no layovers. Right to Seattle, then from Seattle, left on Friday, played Seattle on Saturday. Sunday morning, we flew to Oakland, like a 2-hour flight from Seattle to Oakland. Played in Oakland, right there. Then drove an hour to San Francisco yesterday morning to catch a flight all the way back to New York last night. So it's a quick trip around the U.S. left coast and back. But no, USA. So you have a Mexican one, Red Skullman. Okay, very, very cool. And also got my guitar to join your lesson. All right, well, that's cool. We have to have a guitar. I said, pick up your guitar. I always start out by saying brew some coffee. No, I say tune your guitar, brew some coffee, and let's play. What else would you want to do in the afternoon? Play guitar. I mean, how bad can it be when you have your guitar in your hand and a cup of coffee in the other hand? It's all good when that is happening. When I say tune the guitar, it's a tricky thing, tuning a guitar. Believe it or not, because learning these chords and these inversions will really, really help your ear as well. Because you start playing these chords and you start hearing the inversions, and it's like you'll start to really hear the intervals in there. So I'll get into a way that I tune the guitar, because the tuners, I don't feel really put you completely in tune. They'll put you close, but if you really break it down, the way that the guitar is intonated and the what do they call it? The temperaments of it. It's really not a perfect instrument. It can drive you crazy, and I'm just starting to finally understand how it works. Greetings from Croatia. Pipsanja from Croatia. Man, it's a worldly international show here today. China? I didn't even notice. I'm sorry. Yunus Hong from China. Wow, look at this. This is an international show. I had no idea. The International Guitar of Mystery. We've got, we're talking about Mexican guitars, which this is a USA guitar, but Red Skullman has a Mexican guitar. But we have, you just said yes. You didn't say if it was Hebrew or Middle Eastern. One of those two, right there, Hebrew. And then we have Yunus from China. Greetings from Croatia. It's a Naya. Okay, so that's maybe the way I pronounce your name. Pipsanja. It's Naya. It's a Naya. I don't know. I'm bad with that. Okay. Anyways, right. Oh, thank you very much. Red Skullman, can you give me a little brief about the inversions again? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's do that. Let's take a C major chord here. And let's just figure out the inversions of it here real quick. C major looks like this. Put on this on the big screen. Here. C major. Regular cowboy chord, like a C shape. Everyone knows this one, right? Check it out, C chord. So when you see the C chord, it's just a combination of the formula and of the notes of the scale. So you have the C. The next note here is an E, which is the third. You have the open G, which is the fifth. And you have the C again, C. And the E is the third open again. So this chord, Hebrew, awesome. This chord is just a combination of 1, 3, 5, triad, 1, 3, 5, and then a C again, and then the E again. So these two notes right here are the same as this, only it's an octave higher. Then you have the third in the middle. Well, guess what? Here's another E right here, low E. So these chords are just a combination of the intervals and the formula of the scale, C major scale. Or here. Right? 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. First inversion will be a 3 on the bottom. So instead of the 1 being on the bottom, let's put the third on the bottom. So you can actually just take your finger off. I'm not shooting you a bird. Take that finger and play it here. That would be, sorry, I'm getting so excited here. That would be a first inversion. If I just took this finger off and started here on the E, that's a first inversion right there. Because the lowest note is the third. So that's a C chord, but I'm starting on the E. Not the C. But it still sounds the same, but I'm leaving the C open. Now check this out. I could play the full C as well again, but if I hit the low E, now it's still a first inversion again. Or it's it could be a C/E. I don't know, 'cause it's a C chord with an E on the bottom. Look at it that way as well, because I'm immediately going to the C. But I just call it a first inversion right there. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I know it's a C/E as well. Same type of thing. You know, it's a C chord with an E at the bottom. Whereas this is a true first inversion right here, the C. Because it's starting at the E, then at the fifth, C again, up there. So I'm playing the C chord there. If I played it with the G on the bottom, that's a second inversion. Because I'm playing the fifth on the bottom. Let's count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The G, that's the fifth. For 1, 3, 5. Here's the fifth. If I play that G on the bottom here, play that C chord like this, or like that. Say, just move my fingers. It's the same cowboy chord. It's good to be able to play the C this way and this way with your pinky, or this way, you know, this way, because then you throw your finger down there. So now here's the second inversion, C chord. So it's a C chord, but with the G on the bottom. You know, it sounds pretty cool. It sounds different. I mean, all three of these sound different. Here's a C. Here's a C first inversion. C second inversion. Back to the first. So it's just, I'm playing this, I'm just rearranging the notes. The notes are already in this chord. Just adding it in the lower place. Like nothing is obtrusive really. You know, it's just, I'm just playing different, what is it? It would be a different tonality or a different octave of what's already in there. Because you have this E here, you have that E here, So now I'm just adding a lower E here. So now I have 3 E's, high, medium, and low, over the C chord. But it's a C chord, but I have 3 E's going on there. And it's just a third of the key. 1, 2, 3. So on the second chord, it's a C9. No, it's not a C9. A C9 would be if I was to play the second degree. If I played a D in there. Because a 9, all a 9 is a 2, basically. So if you count the major scale, C major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 is 1 again. Start, it's a C again. But the 2, and the reason why is this 8, if I continued 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I played the major scale again, that's bad. Anyway, 8 would be 9, next would be 9, but really it's 1, 2. It would be like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You know, it just cycles over. So this 9 is the same thing as a 2. So that the 2 is a D. So I'd have to put a D note in there. There's no D in this. If I wanted to put, if I played that, if I took this E off and played that open D, that would be a C9. Sounds nice, right? Even with the low E's, I could play it. Here's a C9. I think I would normally play C9 this way. Because look, here's a C chord, just the power chord. And I'm playing the D here. Or you could play C9 this way. C major 7, 9. Anyway, so a 9 is just having that D in the C. Like this. It's a very popular way to play it. There's a nice one too with the first inversion. Pretty cool. So, yeah, and if we went to that second chord, the A, here's an A minor chord. Right? A minor chord. If you want to make that a first inversion, well, A minor going up the C major scale, because it's a 6 chord. 6 meaning the 6th note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is an A. And it's minor, because if you go up in thirds, stack thirds, like in my last lesson we talked about stack thirds. So go up 3 notes, starting on A, up to C major scale. You have a C. That's a minor interval right there. So you have an A minor. So A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. If I put the third on the bottom, here's a C, put it on the bottom. That's an A minor first inversion right there. Because you have the third on the bottom. So you have either A minor or A minor first inversion. Now this looks a lot like a C chord, but it doesn't sound like it because here's a C. Here's an A minor first inversion. Big difference, right? Here's a C, A minor first inversion. Just that note. See the difference? Pretty cool. I used to have a hard time hitting that chord. You could always just go to the A minor first real quick and then get your pinky on that C before you hit it. If you're playing from one chord going to another, instead of going like that, because it's hard to play a C chord, you'd have to play the C chord like that and then throw that finger. I think it's quicker to go to A minor and then throw the pinky on top. So if you're playing this, go to the, my hands will just naturally go to an A minor, but then before you strike it, hit that C. Like that, you know? Alright. Hopefully we're getting somewhere. I'm having a good time here today. If you are, hit that like button. That means you're having a good time as well. Well, I'll drink some more coffee. Any questions? I think I missed a couple of stuff here. So we talked about the C9. We figured that out. The American and European music theory offer different bit naming of some things. Yeah, they sure do, especially with the solfege. Man, I made a video on a solfege where I just played the major scale, and I played it in E. And I had hundreds, I think. This one particular video did well on social media. It was it got like maybe 100, at least 100 comments saying that I had no idea what I was doing because I called it a solfege when it was in the key of E. And a solfege is just the major scale, right? Starting on C. It's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. But I was in E. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. So I call it just a movable solfege where it's the major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, in any key, because it's just the major scale. It's like, wow, you could play the major scale in any key. A, C, F, and it's still the same sound. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa. So whatever, right? But they were saying, because it was in other countries, they really believe that the solfege is only in the key of C. If you were to play an E note, it would be the third note of the C solfege starting on Mi, which is really, it's pretty cool, but it's just not the way that I think of music and the way that I like to show people. You know, I like to be able to have a movable solfege where it's do, re, mi everywhere and not having to start on the a part of the C, which, I don't know, I'm sure it has a benefit if we look into it, and it's not going to say it's wrong. It's just what people do in different countries. Very strict policies and rules. But rules are meant to be broken in the musical world. So that's a very good point that you bring up right there. Red Skullman, I have heard don't say C major because of the major 7 chord. Just say C. Yeah, absolutely. Unless you're for sure that it's a C major 7. You know, when I go through all these chords of the diatonic key, I just go C, D, minor. You have to say minor on that though, because it is a minor. Actually I had a video, I'm grateful for it too. For the first time in 5 years since I've been doing this, I had a video go viral, a YouTube short. It's at like 1.2 million views already in like just a couple weeks. It's crazy. But I got a ton of comments because I hit a progression, I hit an A and I called it an A when it was an A minor. I called it a C, A, and I went to a D minor, G. But there was a graph that showed a lowercase 6 Roman numeral, which indicates minor, but I didn't say it. So you have to really cross your T's, dot your I's. But if I played the chords of the C diatonic key, it would be C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished. I'm not even going to say half diminished because what it really is, but I'm not talking about 7th chords. C again. In this case, you could actually say C major 7 if I was talking about major chords. When I hit that D minor, I'm not saying D minor 7 because I'm only talking about triads really. C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, and C. I'm not getting into C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G 7, A minor 7, B half diminished, and C 7 again. So, brings up a great point. And they're all just different parts of the scale, which is really cool. Let's see. What is called a traditional 1-3-5 triad in American is called quint chord. Excuse me. What is called a traditional 1-3-5 triad in America is called a quint chord. Quint chord in Europe. Really? Excuse me. A quint chord. Quint. Why is that? Quints. I guess because that's just what they call it, quints. But what does that mean? It's something quints. It's like does that represent any kind of number in system, quints? It sounds like it does. All right, okay. Thank you. I think you're referring to the inversion thing right there. And let's see, inversions are then named after the functions, or rather, inversions are then named after the functions, or rather stacking of the notes. Like how far are they apart, still maintaining the name C major, for example. I just think, whatever note you have on the bottom represents the inversion. Because if it's a C chord, it's a root version with starting on the C. If I put that third anywhere on the bottom, it's going to be a first inversion to me. Popular way that people play it is that they'll play things like, it's a very common type of thing. All that is the first inversion, because I take the root, I slid up to the third. Just like that, I slid up to the third. C, up to the E, which is the third. And I played that C chord here, same chord. But I'm playing it starting on the third. Very classic riff. So that's a first inversion, C. And if I played the fifth on the bottom, it would be the G on the bottom. It's just kind of like this. Fifth on the bottom. Or if it was a C up here. If you played this E shape C chord, I know I have the root, the fifth, the root, third, fifth. That's what's great about looking at chords. You can see out of these 6 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the position, it's always the same with these bar chords. The root, the fifth. You have the root, the fifth, the root, the third. If I started with just on this note right here, and I didn't hit this, I started on the fifth, that would be a second inversion C chord. So I'm still playing a C chord, but I'm starting on this note, this G. Sounds different, right? It's just an easy way to do it as well. Does it make a difference? Because you're playing in the same area. If I start. See. The flat right there. Yeah, 1, 2 sharp. Yeah, if I played. So what's the difference by playing this full C chord, or the fifth? Well, it's not as heavy. It leaves the bass to do more stuff on the bottom. Gives a different color of the inversions. Hopefully that answered something. And all right, solfeggio. It sounds Italian. What what we call a solfege, S-O-L-F-E-G-E. I think the E has those two little dots above it, solfege. And yeah, it's an eye opener when people see it. Yeah. And everybody gets its own interpretation. Yeah, everyone gets its own interpretation. So while we get each other's, so it matters. We get each other's. Yeah, I'm totally into that. I mean, I totally respect the idea that it's a solfege starts on C, and a lot of people do that. And I've seen a lot of Chinese or Asian musicians that I've talked to and that I hear talk about what people I've played with people that are Juilliard students. My old cello player, she would refer to different melodies as parts of the solfege in C. And I should call her up and pick her brain. A lot of people don't like to talk about music, though. They just play it. Me and us, we're like, we want to discover stuff. It's like, but they say talking about music is like dancing about architecture. Is that the expression? All right, watching from Busch Gardens, Tampa. All right, Ashley, hello. It's good to see you. Give you a round of applause and give everyone a round of applause here. So cool to hang out with me for a little bit here on a Wednesday. It is Wednesday, right? No, it's Tuesday. Jumping the gun. Let's see. It matters, but because the distance between C and G is a 5. Yep. C, D, E, F, G. It is a fifth away, but it makes it the second inversion. I just know that you have the root inversion. First inversion is when you start on the third. Second inversion is when you start on the fifth. A third inversion would be if you start on the seventh. Right there. So you have the root 1, 2, and 3. We're not doing seventh chords. There are some cool sounds though too. Like if you did, like if I played the C chord right here, if I started on a like this B right here. So that's the seventh on the bottom. Right there. So it's a C major, third inversion. Right there. There's all kinds of cool like sounding inversions. It's also like a E minor 6. Right there. Because I have an E minor and I play the C in there. It's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Crazy. Just moving a few chords around. So cool, Ashley. Jerry, can you teach about funky rhythms? I love funky rhythms. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We'll get to that in a future lesson. Here's one quick funky rhythm like this. It's like that's a little bit funky. How am I? I am good. I am great, actually. But things could always get better. Mike G, what's happening? Give you a round of applause. A good progression is E minor, C, A major. A major or A minor? That's a big M, so I would look at it as an A major. Or you would just say A if you mean A major. It's a little deceiving right there. So E minor, C. Let's see A minor. That's pretty right there. If I played an inversion of that, it would be like this. And first inversion, E minor. To a second inversion, C. Or a first inversion C, you could drop down that E again, so it would be like this. Nope. An A minor with the C. Or E. can play an E over all those chords. E minor. So let's see, the first chord was the E minor. C with the E on the bottom. A minor with the E on the bottom. I'm just kind of messing around, moving the low notes around, playing different inversions and stuff. I think that's what you're talking about. A minor, right on. But A major would be cool too. And that's what I thought it'd be like. Actually, I wrote a song that does that years ago. It was like that same progression. I think it was I think I played it with pick. It was kind of like it's like. Oh, it was E major though. No, it was it was a C, I think. It's like I forgot what the chords were. I know that it went from a C to an A. But the first chord was. Maybe it was an A, E major. It was. I like that left eye to the A major. That's kind of cool. So, let's see. Mostly use 7th, 6th, and sus chords right there. Yeah. It's mostly used 7th, 6th, and sus chords. Yep, all great. I love the sus chords too. Very, very powerful. Sounds nice. Like G. Awesome. Thank you, Ashley Ireland. That's up. That's an up arrow. I don't know what that means, but it's like looking up. Everything's moving up. All right, so let's see. It's in summary here, we came up with 2 progressions. One of them was like this right here. This is with inversions. So it's a C, A minor, D minor, G. But instead of playing the roots, I'm playing the low third. First version is the A minor, the F over the D, the B over the G, E over the C. What is it? F over the D minor, B over the G, E over the C, C over the A minor, F over the D minor, B. So you hear more of a so it just gives you a little bit more movements rather than this. See? We have these chords focusing on the first inversion, but still a C chord. It's in harmony. So that's just what I hear. I hear the root notes because it's a progression. The 60s progression, or the ice cream chords, but it still sounds the same. Like that. I mean, they don't really sound the same, but it's the same chords, but with inversions over them, which I think are pretty cool. You know. The 7th and 9th sus chords mostly used for funky rhythms. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. We should get into that, some more funky rhythms, you know? You know, those 9th chords and stuff, and, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. You know, it's like, you know, stuff like that. I love stuff like a I love that kind of stuff for sure. So, and then the other progression, we did a hear that? You just hear that that low note moving around. Boom, 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 boom. But you know, you just feel like that's gonna be an A. You know it's an F sharp. It's the second inversion of B minor, first inversion of the E, second inversion of the A minor, A. So second inversion B minor, first inversion E, second inversion A, root A. Second inversion B minor, first inversion E, second inversion A, root A. Like solo over. Going off the rails a little bit, but having a good time. All right, we'll do another lesson on funky rhythms. So, yeah, very cool. So let me just mention real quick here that I do have a guitar course, of course. Check it out in the description. I go over 4 topics. Fretboard memorization. Easy way to help you find all the notes easily all across the fretboard. Then the second part is there's 8 videos in total, 2 on the fretboard memorization. Then I go into the circle of fifths, which is a way to analyze all the chords of all the keys. It's a really, really good way to look at it. Very similar to what we just are doing in our head, you know, as far as diatonic chords. Then I have a section on blues soloing, which really focuses on lots of different progressions, which I feel is the most important part of playing is vibrato, bending, in tune, intonation, things like that. And then the final part is going over the cage system, showing all the chords of the cage system. So it's 8 videos, 4 topics, 2 videos per. Check that out in the description, the link in the description for that. I appreciate that very, very much. And had a good time here today. And thanks for hanging out with me here. You know, any questions, let me know about the stuff before we take off here today. Thank you, Red Skullman. Appreciate you today. Great questions here, and Ashley popping in. Mike G, sounds nice. Hopefully we got something. Hopefully we learned something here today about chord progressions and the inversions of them, because it could be tricky picking out inversions. And Mike G, very, very cool of you. And Pip Sanja popping in, and Hebrew, Mr. Hebrew. What is your name, by the way? Hope to see you again. I think next Sunday, I'll be back regular scheduled time on Sunday. So looking forward to getting back to a normal Sunday here. I could check really quick and tell you if I'll be here on Sunday. It's because I get back on Saturday, so we'll be back here on, what is it, Mother's Day? Yeah, next Sunday, Mother's Day. We'll do a special Mother's Day guitar live. So thanks for popping in. All of you guys were really, really cool of you. And but please, any questions, let me know now or in the comment section. I'm a band player and I need more knowledge. We all need more knowledge, right? That's the beauty of guitar playing or being a musician, is it's never ending. And I love to hear that. I'm grateful for that. And I want this to be useful stuff. I want it to be able to be implemented, thrown into your playing right away. So that's the whole idea, is learn something new and try to incorporate it in your playing, which is really fun, you know. All right. So thanks for watching, guys. I love you. Be cool. Be kind. Most of all, be cherry. And if you want to see another video where I talk about how I build chords by stacking thirds, which is really, really cool, I'll put that right up there for you. Love you. Have a great week. I'll see you on Sunday. All right? Thank you so much. Peace.